Hi, and welcome to the Feel Good Always podcast. I'm Becky Bradley, and this is real stories of love, connection, and remembering who we are. Here on this podcast, we talk about spiritual awakening and ascension, really a path to feel good always. And today I'm going to be sharing some channeled messages from my daughter, Kira, who is on the other side. Actually, if you're new here, this podcast was born out of receiving direct messages from her. You see, my daughter Kira, she was in a tragic fatal UTV accident at 15 years old. And after she died, of course, and through the massive grief that I experienced, it really shattered my ego and shattered all that was not true to open me up to this expansive energy of her coming through me, along with my connection to everything and everyone. And I have been guided to share this podcast, to bring people on it, to share this message of awakening, to come into the truth of what is possible in these human bodies, and to really share my lived experience, presence, guidance that helps us all stay grounded, calm, and aligned in the changing world. And so I'm going to be sharing that today. And you can read along in the Substack link below if you want to read the transmission. So always know when I share these, I will be linking to the Substack where you can read it word for word afterwards. And I share these episodes every other week. And so before I share the channeled messages, I also would like to share a little bit about what has been going on for me in my life just in the last week or so as themes in my life continue to play out. So I received these messages from Kira through these channeled messages, which I'm going to share. However, that is not the only way that I receive messages. I will tell everybody over and over, our life is an algorithm. So my life will start showing me the same theme. It can be through the channel that I'm sharing with you. It could be through interactions that I'm having with people. And I'm kind of always connecting and seeing. And there's definitely a theme that's going on right now. And I don't share with you always all of the themes, but I feel that it's very pertinent to share this one because I do believe that this is something that is happening with many people, because when it's happening with me, it feels like when I talk to people out in the world, it's also happening with them. So the timing of Laura Morante's podcast, which was last week, where she shared just really beautiful channels. And one of the things she spoke to was this idea that our systems are built on the male ego, right? All of our systems in the world, and we're actually kind of watching them crumble. And I spoke on that podcast really for the first time on the podcast about, how this idea that we are only allowed to go directly to God has been harmful to me and harmful to other people. However, many times I don't want to stand firmly in what I believe and know is true, which is that we are connected beyond space and time. And I'm not religious, but I do know that there's many belief systems that tell people differently. And we spoke to that. So that was like one thing. And I have experienced oneness. I have experienced what that is. And a lot of that doesn't feel real to me. The patriarchy, all that's going on in the world, because I'm like, only love is real. And I see people, I see their higher selves, I connect with them. And my personality is kind of always connecting with people and maybe almost like making excuses for them, even when they're not being so nice. And maybe it's not the best thing. Being able to see everybody's side sometimes allows me to just be quiet and let people be who they are and allow myself to just model behavior of what it looks like to, love everyone anyways, which I'm really good at. I've done that my whole entire life. And especially as I know that this is true, and I know when I see people acting out in the world that it is deep wounds and that we're all so much bigger than these traumas, bigger than these wounds, and that this person is a victim of these controlling ideas, this patriarchy, this imbalance of the masculine and the feminine. So I deeply know these things. I experience that in my body. However, what I have been seeing happening, which is a pattern in my life, is it does feel better for me to see everybody's side. However, it's like these micro aggressions, I would call them, of me slowly allowing more and more things into my life where I allow things to happen and people to say things, and arrogance, misogyny, people trying to tell me what my experience is. And I don't care if people try to tell me what my experience is, because I know what my experience is. You cannot tell me different. So there's a part of me that just allows people to be who they are. I call in mostly beautiful energy. However, I've also recently just had like 5 or 6 different incidences that got really loud. It's like my life got really loud with showing me where I was allowing energy leaks. And what I mean by that is like seeing people and knowing their true selves, because I see you all. I see everyone, but allowing behavior, kind of saying like, that's okay, they don't mean it, or like their true self, because I know them. And this is something I've kind of done my whole life. It's why I have pretty good relationships. I actually don't have any conflict. I'll avoid the conflict. And I really feel like my life has shown me that I have to stand in my power and that my message may end up being divisive. When I say, this is the way that it is for me, and these systems are controlling, and anyone that is told that they are going to hell or that their connection to their loved one on the other side is actually unacceptable, whatever it is that these systems are saying, me just ignoring that and not speaking to it is actually giving the systems grace, giving people grace, and abandoning myself and abandoning the truth. So I am getting a lot of messages around boundaries, standing in my truth, standing in my power, and that when I just, allow people to be who they are and just try to feel good always anyways, without standing in the truth and saying, no, actually, that's not true, and not for me anyways. And when I allow people in my life that are continuously stepping over the line and being arrogant or actually somewhat rude, that because I am making excuses for them, or I don't want to make them uncomfortable for being rude to me. And that's just the truth. That's what I will end up doing, that I'm actually participating very much in the patriarchy of being quiet. So all of that being said, I'm going to have tighter boundaries. I'm going to be speaking more to the truth, and that, yeah, my message might be divisive. How do you speak to everyone? And I don't want to divide, because I actually know that only love is real, right? But a message that tells people that they are separated from their children on the other side, or that they can only go to heaven if they say a certain prayer, or that they're going to go to hell, or that you are a sinner, whatever it is. Those are kind of like religious themes. I don't claim to know that much, and that's fine. I don't know that much about religion. I just know what I have seen, and I am being shown something different. Being shown the divine feminine coming in. I'm being shown that I might have to stand more in my power. And actually, to be honest, it's super uncomfortable to be like, actually, I can love you and all of that, but like from afar. And I know the things that you've done are part of this patriarchal society that we're in. Everyone is a victim of this patriarchy. So it's coming in, and I'm just being asked to stand more in my power. I have seen the color yellow everywhere. I'm wearing yellow right now. I actually have yellow flowers behind me, yellow, yellow, yellow. And I don't actually know that all of this is happening. Like, I didn't put on the yellow shirt thinking about it. I didn't think about the yellow flowers. All of that just kind of happens naturally in my field. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to speak to the fact that yellow is coming in. Well, yellow is the solar plexus, which is our power, standing in our power. And that is what these themes are showing me, standing in our power. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to have these boundaries. I'm going to continue to stand in my power. And I hope that you do too, because we have to stand in our personal power, in our own trust, in our own selves, because there is systems that have been meant to control us. And I am no longer going to override myself. I will stand in my truth. I'm going to set boundaries, and I will continue to trust in what I know. I already don't need external validation. I can trust me. And I also am going to continue to speak the truth of these systems that control. So I'm going to get started on this channel and read it to you line by line. I will break it down, what my interpretation is. And as always, what does it mean to you? Think about what it means to you. So it begins with Start X. Kira is here. You ask what you give. You ask what vacates. You give back. So she starts off with the Start X. So a lot of times X will come in. A lot of times I will associate that with breaking apart the matrix. That each letter is falling off of the matrix, starting with the X as we break it apart. You ask what vacates, right? What helps us move into this awakening? Is it this looking at these systems that control. What are we ready to release? I mean, we're continuously releasing things. That's why I will be shown these things out in my world, things that need to leave our world, things that need to go to make space for something new. The next lines are start careful. Justice will awaken you. We really dream calm. We go do. I love this. So, yeah, the starting careful. It's just like this awareness that we're intentional with everything that we do, every moment, a lot of mindfulness, and that this justice will awaken us. Yes, there is going to be justice for what has really been done to us. I'm not talking about this in a victim way, but like this purposeful telling us that we don't have the power that we have within. I want to say that the justice, the internal truth that is coming from internal. It's not external justice, but internal truth, seeing clearly what is aligned and what is not. And the next words are, we really dream calm. They are continuously reminding us that there is a calmness. It's not urgency. It's not grasping. It's not force. It is this calm. It's a steady calm where truth becomes clear. Whether you're sitting quietly, you're out in nature, you are being shown things. Like a lot of times we have to get really uncomfortable so that we can see the truth. That's kind of what's been happening to me in the last few weeks is like, what is happening? But I'm always curious. What are you showing me? And I do always stay calm. That doesn't mean that I can't get frustrated. That calmness is the state where I can see the truth. The next line is go do. So it's about action, about living it, embodying it, and not necessarily always understanding it. That we go out and do, we embody what this is. The next lines, care gives what care gets. Feed daily. Use us. I love this. So care gives what care gets. We give whatever we're giving our energy to, that's going to grow. So if I'm focusing on how much I hate the world and how all of these systems suck, I might see them and it might become intertwined. If I'm watching the news, all of that. So it's a careful balance that we are hearing what we need to do and that we also take care of ourselves. So when we care for ourselves first, not abandoning ourselves, we create more care everywhere. Our presence creates more presence. Feed daily. So it's a practice. Everything that we do, something we return to every day. The fact that they say use us, it's like remembering that we can trust, that we have help, that we are not doing this alone. The next lines are amazing. Each wall comes crumbling. Bam. So bam is break apart the matrix. So we're watching these old patterns, old beliefs, old identities, ways of being. They're not holding anymore. So they're breaking apart the matrix. That X that I talk about that I see everywhere that's breaking apart the matrix. And so we're watching these walls come crumbling down and it feels uncomfortable. The next lines are can feet on the ground, which is really just saying that we should stay grounded as things are expanding, as things are shifting. We're still here. Our feet are on the ground. Where are your feet planted? One of my mentors used to say that to me all the time. Where are your feet planted? So we're still here in this body, in this life, and that we can stay grounded. The next lines say, she spelled out XXX Easter. All high wisdom does dream big. So I do want to say about Easter, I've had a lot of connections to Easter. We know Easter's rebirth, renewal. I have had things that happen on Easter multiple times, specifically the Easter after Kira died. And then I had all of these connections to Easter that other people around me had connections. So if you're listening, maybe there's something about a previous Easter that you experienced that you are being shown by her, including that. Maybe it's coming up, not to put us in fear, but to just pay attention to what actually happens on that day. The next thing she said is that all high wisdom does dream big. So yeah, this wisdom that's coming through me, that's coming through all of you, it is that we can dream big, that anything is possible, that we are calling in this beautiful timeline, that we're consciously co-creating together, that this isn't some fantasy, it's real. It is real. And the next things that she said is go start feeding trust, go start feeding high wisdom. All will awaken high vibration. Ooh, I love that. So go start feeding trust. That's a direct action. That's what I'm doing here. I am talking about trust what's coming through to you. Trust that you are awakening, that you are not crazy. Trust yourself that we go start feeding this information that we are giving, not just sharing it with people that believe us, but other people too, to not be afraid to share the truth of your own experience. That is what you're watching me do. All will awaken to this high vibration, is what she says. It's happening. There is no stopping it. So we're feeding trust to what's happening. We're feeding wisdom. And this is how awakening happens. It's how it happens. And what's wrong with that? It's only love is real. It's beautiful. The next lines, we ask what uses each high, steady calm. Quest for BAM, vacating you to reap each useful high wisdom. I love this. So, of course, again, using this high, steady calm, that our calm is not passive, that we use it continuously. We come back to it. It helps move this energy, helps us stay clear for the message. And quest for BAM. So, this quest to break apart the matrix, it's actually already happening. It's in motion. We are just bringing this timeline. We know that it is happening, vacating you to reap each useful high wisdom, and that we're breaking these old patterns. We're creating space. We're vacating what is not aligned. That's why it feels uncomfortable out in the collective and maybe inside of you. This is how we step into this more aligned version of our what is true. And the next lines are UTs feed great awakening with high wisdom. UTs feed great awakening with gusts. So we know that UTs are like these angels, these beings that are helping us. And the gusts, these are, for me, I know this means solar energy, these solar flares. We know, like scientifically, that there is the Schumann resonance. We have a high level of solar flares. That is what's helping activate us to bring in this energy. It connects to what we're all experiencing collectively, those solar flares, the energetic influxes, moments that things feel really intensified. None of this is random, okay? This is all part of this team and this help that we are getting as everything is working together. And sometimes it can feel really calm and steady. And sometimes it comes in waves where there's a high intensity of a lot of connection, and then it's like grounding it back down. And so the next thing that she says is gather high vibrating. Well, essentially, that's what we're doing here on the podcast, gathering us all together. I am sharing my message, gather with other people. When we all come together, you can feel it. I think about, we're doing this Costa Rica retreat. That's something that's out on a retreat. When all of those people come together, there's something really magical happening, or it could just be in a yoga class, in breath work. We're always right where we're supposed to be, and that we're doing this. Anytime I'm meeting with somebody, I know that we are gathering to bring this high energy onto the earth. That's how we're all finding each other. So the next thing she said is feed vision to high care, give useful wisdom. So like I said, this vision it's already what's happening. We're just bringing the timeline of moving into these higher levels of consciousness, and that we're feeding this vision to other people. We're talking about it. I mean, I know, what we're saying, like everybody is waking up. We're living it. We're offering it. We're showing everybody what is possible. And even if they think that we're crazy or tell us like that's not it or that's just God, yes, it's God, but my version of what that means might be different than somebody else's, and that's okay. The next thing is stars are feeding vision. We acquire great gusts. So we know that the stars are helping us. They're sending us light, these beings on the other side. There's guidance coming in. It's not just this subtle guidance, that it's this energetic, the great gusts. These are these solar flares, these waves, these bursts of energy that help activate us, where you might feel muscle twitches, you might feel nausea, dizzy, all kinds of things as this new energy comes onto the earth to really help upgrade us. That the stars are all part of feeding this vision. This is bigger than just like what's happening in my mind. It's everywhere. We have so much support. It's actually this one consciousness that's bringing this forward. The next lines are walls are starting a new art. At first glance, you see fear. We see the growth feeding feel good always. Oh, that's so beautiful. So these walls are starting a new art. So like maybe the walls that are crumbling down, they're now creating something new. What is this new creation, this beautiful art? At first glance, it might feel uncomfortable. So at first glance, you might see fear, but what they see, because they see the bigger picture, is growth feeding feel good always, which is this oneness, this feeling of not being separated. So we might think, oh, everything is falling apart. It's actually something new forming. It's falling apart so that it can be reborn. And that fear is often that layer, that first layer, but underneath it is always growth. The next thing she says is feed trust, and we are feeding you. You start feeding great awakening. So co creation, right? We keep trusting, we keep feeding that trust. I mean, you can see it in me today that I trust this. That's why I'm speaking here to you right now. That when we trust and we stand in the confidence in that yellow solar plexus power of what we know is true, unfaltering, that is contagious. That we feed the vacating a steady feeling. This is what she says next. You feed vacating a steady feeling. Trust feeling. Walls are breaking. You feed vacating. Yeah. So this this vacating of what is not true is steady, it's calm, and that we have to trust that things are kind of breaking down around us. Doesn't mean that we don't get into action, we just go, oh, whatever, but we just continue moment to moment to trust that we will be shown what we need to do next. And in this moment you're listening to this podcast, in this moment I'm recording this podcast. The next thing that she says is call in vision, call feeling. So we call this vision, we call this timeline. I say over and over that it is done, only love is real, and we're just walking towards it, and that we're doing it together. That Kira would always say to me, you're going to need to help people when the change comes. And I am helping you, maybe if you're listening, but you are also helping other people, because this moving into these higher levels of consciousness, it cannot be stopped. It cannot be controlled. It can't, because it is bigger than any system. It is bigger than that. That is what I know is true, and that we are just calling it into existence. The last thing she says is stay feel good always. What calls awakening? Start now. We love you, right? Okay, so they love us. They're helping us. There's not any waiting. It's already happening. We are in it. We are in the midst of a great awakening, and I'm so grateful. And that doesn't mean that it's always comfortable. And just when you think you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, something shifts, and it can feel very confusing. I understand, but we are all doing this together. We are gathering the high vibrating. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate all of your feedback. Please follow the podcast if you haven't already. Comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Follow me over on social media too. I'd love it if you comment there. That just helps spread this. I appreciate you all. So I'm going to keep sharing. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep setting my boundaries. I'm going to keep trusting, and I'm going to keep standing in the truth and the power. I'm going to trust in what's coming from, that self-confidence that I have to stand in my truth, even when the outside systems tell me that what I'm experiencing is not real. How can you tell me that? I don't believe you. And so, like I said, listen to yourself, stand in your power, stand in your truth. We are doing it. Nothing's going to stop us now. So thanks for listening. I love you all. We are doing it. Have a great day.